Hey guys, hope everybody's doing well today. Well, the dogs are barking inside and it's trying to rain outside. So here I am under cover here outside, trying to stay out of the rain and stay out of everyone's way, and talk to you today about auto insurance. The question is, liability only or full coverage? What's your take on it? I'm guessing if you're interested in retiring early, or you have retired early, or you're retired, or you're in a position where you're financially independent, or trying to get to that financial independence goal line, you probably have a couple of vehicles or more, and everyone needs to have liability insurance on their vehicles, right? It's the law. But the question comes in, and I'm curious what you guys think about this, about do you fully insure your vehicles, or do you drop and just go with liability only? I will say, on the opposite ends of the spectrum, it's pretty straightforward. I have some really old vehicles. I have a really old vehicle that's not worth hardly anything at all, and so I just carry liability insurance on it, which works great. The premiums are very reasonable, and I understand that if it's involved in a wreck someday, then it's on me to either fix it or buy something new and different, and I'm okay with that. If you have, on the other hand, on the opposite side of the spectrum, if you have a brand new vehicle and or you have a loan, auto loan on that vehicle, then chances are you have full coverage. The lender probably requires it, and or you've just spent a good stack of money on that vehicle, and so you want some protection on that, where if something happens, you're not all of a sudden in a situation where you have to spend another, 10 or 20 or more $1,000 to get it fixed or buy a new vehicle if it's totaled. So again, the interesting part of this conversation comes in the middle, where maybe you have a somewhat used vehicle that has some value, and you're trying to decide, okay, do I continue to have full coverage on this vehicle, or do I just drop it down to liability only? I tell you, the rule of thumb that I go by is that if I'm spending more than 10% of the value of that vehicle on full coverage per year, then I generally will drop that coverage down to liability only, as long as I have resources and funds available and set aside where if I need to purchase a different vehicle, I can do it. But again, everyone's situation is different, but you can save quite a bit of money in premiums by dropping your coverage down if you're prepared to take on that risk, and that's what insurance is transferring of risk from yourself to another entity. If you're willing to take that risk on, then you can save some money. So I'm curious what your take is on this, if you have a rule of thumb about auto coverage between full coverage or taking it down to liability only. And I guess I should interject here at the end that there's liability insurance, which the law requires. There's collision insurance, which of course covers you and your vehicle in the case that you have a run-in with another vehicle or a guardrail or a tree. But you need to have comprehensive coverage to cover those things that are not collision related, such as hail damage, such as theft or vandalism of your vehicle, or in my situation where you have a run-in with a deer, which I would have thought would be covered under collision, but it's not. It's covered under comprehensive coverage. And that happened to me. One morning I was on my way to work kind of early, and it was kind of dark, and I was going over a hill, and I got to the top of the hill and kabam, a deer jumped out of the woods and hit the side of my vehicle. And I stopped, and it got up and ran off. And I didn't know what had happened really until, you know, I got to where I was going and took a look, and, you know, there was deer snot, you know, right on the window, on the driver's side window, but back behind me, and a dent and scratches and fur where this deer actually jumped out of the woods, hit the side of my vehicle, and then got up and ran off. So, you know, there wasn't that much damage. So I never, you know, I just went on. It was an older vehicle anyway. I don't remember if I had full coverage or not, but, you know, things happen, right? I know my wife and daughter were on their way home from something, I don't remember what it was, on the interstate, and a deer popped out, ran in front of them, and they hit it and went clear, you know, over the rail, off into the dark, never to be seen again. And of course they were fine, but man, there was some damage done to that vehicle. And again, it was an older vehicle, and we had liability only insurance. So it was on me to get it fixed up. You know, fortunately it still ran, but there was quite a bit of damage done to the front end. So it does happen. And it's just, you know, like I said, if you're not on one end of the spectrum or the other, where the car is basically has no value, or a brand new vehicle, then it's just a cost benefit analysis on if it makes sense to go ahead and pay for, you know, collision and comprehensive coverage or not. So anyway, I've rambled on enough. I hope you enjoyed this content. And again, my name is Walter, and this channel exists for those wanting a perspective on early retirement, or planning to retire someday, or just wanting to live a life of financial freedom. So if you enjoyed this content, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and I appreciate you watching. Take care. Bye now.